individual.
I'm recording this now.
Alrighty. Well, if you're recording, so he's going to go use it different countries. All the graduate students and colleagues will hear it. Welcome to Khan's Digital Learning Speaking. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my buddy, Dr. Bonk, a genius in online education, travel man. We did a lot of keynotes together. One of the good ones that we did in Saudi Arabia in 2004 or 5. And Dr. Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the web, he was also a keynote speaker. I myself was a keynote speaker. Art Bonk was a keynote speaker. Also, Jack from Wikipedia founder was a keynote speaker. So we go.
So I'll correct a couple of things in there. Jimmy Wales from Wikipedia was the keynote speaker. He flew in after his wife had a baby that day. He got on a plane and came to the conference, gave a speech, had lunch with us, and flew back home to see the baby. And I did research on Wikipedia and Wikibooks, and he sponsored it, some of that. So I was indebted to him. He's an IU alum. If you didn't know it, the guy who invented Wikipedia went to IU and actually didn't finish his doctorate in finance. He went to Auburn and Indiana University and then started Wikipedia with someone from Ohio State named Larry Sanger. The two of them started this thing and they just took off. So that was 2011 when we gave the keynotes there. I've sent you the video link. But what Badrul doesn't realize is after my keynote, they took me to lunch and then back to my hotel after the conference ended, and I had a ride home that day. There's a person named Muhammad Ali, not the boxer Muhammad Ali, but the mobile learning expert. He gave a talk, and then you got his book, and then he went home. And what I almost got kidnapped in Saudi Arabia that night. The guy locked me in a car in the middle of Riyadh at night and smiled and started yelling on his phone. And I got really nervous about that. And power windows were working when he left, I opened the power window down, I crawled out through the window, but my luggage was in the trunk. So he made me go back in the car, and then he goes, money, 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 while driving with one finger on the steering wheel, looking back at me, driving 140 kilometers an hour in and out of the highways in Riyadh, and almost hitting people with the music blaring, him yelling on his phone and going, money, money. He was trying to extort money out of me. I thought he was trying to kidnap me. And we got to a checkpoint. And as soon as we got to the checkpoint, he turns his phone off. He turns the radio down. He's driving like this. I go, I'm trying to tell the security people, and they wave us on through. And then as soon as he waves on through, he turns the radio back on, blaring. He gets on the phone, starts yelling. He yells back at me, money, 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 money. He drives with one finger on the steering wheel. And I'm singing to myself, slow down, slow down, slow down. And let me say, it was one of the most petrifying trips of my life, because my escort couldn't make it to the hotel. My translator didn't make it because the king of Saudi Arabia got back to the country that day after being 6 months in the US having back surgery. So the whole city was like the 4th of July. All the streets were packed with people, and my translator didn't make it to my hotel. So my moral of the story, or my takeaway, is don't ever get in a taxi in another country without your guest also being in. Stay another night in the hotel, stay in the airport. Never trust someone unless you have, a trust translator, a person picking you up, and especially in the Middle East, in another country. It is dangerous out there. I've had dangerous rides from Abu Dhabi to Dubai where they drove 180 kilometers an hour, and just you're holding on for dear life. And I don't know a word of Arabic to tell them how to slow down. So there's more to it than that. You can look up the blog post. That was one of 10 bad trips in a row. I had 10 like that in a row. And at the end of 10, they couldn't even, 2 of them, they couldn't land the plane. That was so bad, the weather. It was crazy flying in 2011, 10 in a row. And Badrul, that was number 4 of 10 bad trips. So anyways, that's a little side. So Badrul and I, after our keynotes, we got pulled into the exhibit hall with the women, and you're not supposed to be near the women during in Saudi Arabia. And all the women were trying to get their pictures with us. So finally I stood up, I had chocolates I was handing out to everyone, and they're taking their picture with the women. They're fully veiled and all this. And finally the security, the police came to break it up. We got special, actually the conference hosts took us to the exhibit hall and said, could you meet the women? And blah, blah, blah. We'll put you in the middle here. You don't say anything. We'll put you in this chairs. And all the people walking by trying to get their selfies with us and all this stuff, I don't know if you remember that, Badrul.
Yeah, you said you.
Daniel Tan from Singapore, you and me. So anyways, that's a little side story. Badrul's an alum of IST. He's one of the top alumni within the IST program in the world. I've recently done a summary of all the IST alums, and his name floated to the top because he's done an extreme wealth of books and other frameworks and models that have pushed the field ahead. He was the first one to do a book on web-based instruction back in 1997 or so. I have a chapter in the book. It was a huge collection on web-based instruction before anyone. That was the very first book in the field. That is probably still up there somewhere on his bookshelf there.
It's up there.
Yeah. So those are all the books he's done. You can imagine he's done a lot of things. So Badrul understands blended learning, fully online learning, and now the metaverse he's going to talk about as well. So when I got to IU in 92, he was just finishing up. He got done in 1994 and immediately made an impact on University of Texas, Rio Grande, and then George Washington University, where he headed up the department and created new programs at George Washington University, and then works for a lot of people as consultant all around the world. If I go to Thailand, oftentimes they'll say, well, Dr. Khan was here last week, or if I go to Malaysia, they'll say, Dr. Khan was here, he'll be here next week. So he travels the same as me. He has a new book on micro-credentials, which is a real important topic for all of us, thinking about micro-learning and nano-degree kinds of things. But we'll be talking about this framework today. His new paradigm is really building on his old paradigm. So, Badrul, you want to first tell us where you were born and where your background. Why did you even get into the field of educational technology? Why do this kind of stuff? What's your undergraduate in and that kind of thing?
Well, since this is a graduate class, we are all friends. Where you are today, I was there myself several years back. So I was born in Chittagong, Bangladesh. It's a port city, Chittagong, Bangladesh. I came to the United States in 1981 as an undergraduate student. So I did my undergraduate in chemistry from Indiana University, Bloomington.
Wow.
You see? So then I was playing tennis with a couple senior friends, and they always talk about publication, journal article, and all this, and I'm an undergraduate student, I'm playing with them. So they sometimes make fun with me, because, you're undergraduate, you will know what you're talking about. So they're talking about journal articles and all this. So one gentleman, he was from Bangladesh too, was a doctoral student in language education. He mentioned to me the way I talk, I should study something called IST, Instruction System Technology. And this another gentleman was from MIS, Dr. Bonk. He was a professor in Norway and a graduate from IU Business School. He said the same thing to me. He said, you should study IST. I said, what the heck is that? He said, Instruction System Technology. And I said, why you say that? He said, the way you talk, the way you're thinking, I said, okay, if that's what you guys want me to do, I'm not gonna do my BS in chemistry. I will do a BA in chemistry. So I'll finish early. And then I applied to IST. So I got accepted. So I don't have master's. So I have BA in chemistry and PhD in instructional system technology. And so I like the way what they cover, they talk about some kind of solutions, human performance, talk about instructional design. So they make sense to me. So I say, okay. So I got this started. And but I was a rebel. I was really rebel. Rebel in the sense that when I grew up in Bangladesh, at a young age, I always I went to best school, I was always have idea that's different than others. And when I joined IU in instruction system technology, so Professor Raigulu was my mentor, So he has one class with Ali Carr, who is a dean now, and I think she is in, she was minister, now she is in Dayton, Ohio.
So Ali Carr is past president of the AECT, which you'll hear a lot about, Association for Educational Communications and Technology. And the other person Badrul just mentioned is Dr. Charlie Regaluth, who's famous for his green books on instructional design. He had the office next to me, and me as a grad student, I read Dr. Regaluth's work for my instructional design classes. So the most famous person in instructional design was Dr. Charlie Regaluth, who was at IU for over 20, 25, 30. He retired a few years back, but I could bring him in as a guest anytime in here. He lives near me here in Bloomington. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but those are two important people. Both Ali Carr and Dr. Regaluth, are important to names to recognize. Yeah.
Your graduate students are so lucky. They're having to know about the people. When they go further in studying doctoral, they will come to know them anyway. Remember one picture I had with Garnier, Robert Garnier. You were in the picture too. So I was talking to Robert Garnier about well-defined domain, ill-defined domain, all this thing. So that was a great picture.
Send it to me. I don't have that picture.
I have, so I have it. I will send it to you.
Please, I would love that picture. So Robert Garnier is like the father of the entire field of instructional psychology anyhow. And he's a Florida State former professor. So Regaluth, Garnier, these are the big names within the field. Garnier is known for his conditions of instruction and trying to design. Yeah.
So it's good that, you guys are really lucky. You are going to IU in IST is a big thing. You don't know yet, I'm telling you. So after I joined IST, but Raigulu had a class, it's called Educational System Design. It's about the systemic change, school restructuring. So Ali Carr, we were in the same class, So, but I became a rebel in the sense that, see, I come from chemistry, I'm not education person. So I was thinking that Bela Benetti, he passed away. He is the first one who wrote the book Instruction System 1956. Bela Benetti. So Bela Benetti, he was actually Raigulu was using his book called System View of Education. So we are all studying together, and later on Benetti served as a member on my dissertation committee. He liked me a lot. So he talked about education. He said education has 4 levels. He said one level is learner's level, another level is instructional level, then level is called administrative level, then last level is governor's level. Means that there are 4 levels of education system. And he says that talking about instructional is not a good thing. He talks about the whole thing. Then I wrote an email. I think that was in 1990, 2 or 3, whatever one was that. I wrote an email to all students of IST and the faculty members. And I said to them, why are you still calling your department Instructional Systems Technology? Because instructional system means you are only focusing on instruction level. But Benetti talks about education has 4 levels: learners, instructors, administrators, and governors. But I told them, instead of calling IST, call it LST. I will buy it. He said, what is LST? It's a learning system technology. Because we are all working together to improve what? Learning. So 99.8% recipients of my email professors and graduate students, they said, Badrul, you're right. They supported me. Almost 100% of the alumni, mostly working in Arthur Anderson and other places, they hated me. They didn't like me because they are known as IST grad. It has a name. IST grad has a name over Syracuse, over Florida State, over Penn State, IST grad. So is Badrul Khan coming telling them LST is not going to fly. So, but that was my first attempt, and the braveness and my courage. You see, I come from a different country. I'm a foreigner, you know. When I was talking something, there's a man, you don't know what the heck you're talking. I said, I know what the heck I'm talking about, but you have to learn how I talk. So later on, they buy my book, and book became a ever bestseller. Larry Lipsitz, he was the education technology publication owner. He said that my book was he sold most of my book than anyone, 300 books he published those days. So that means my colleagues would not hear me in my classroom, my graduate students was talking, because they have a narrow mind. They want to get a degree in IST, get a good job. Here I come from chemistry. I come from different countries. My father was a leader, big leader. My mom was a leader. So I come from a very leadership, so I had something, I had to get it out. So that was the first studying of mine in the field. After the email, I get little, recognized my friends, but those recognition come with like, yeah, but careful, you're not gonna find a job. If you make status quo man. But anyway, later on I found Michael Molenda, I don't know if still at Michael Molenda, he in some of his article, he referenced my email because I made sense, because I understood that instructional system means only you're trying to improve the instruction. But I'm talking about improve the whole education or improve the learner. And I expanded Benedict's work into calling it designing metrics. So designing metrics is his work that I would, one of my colleagues, Cecile, I forgot her name during my graduate school. She also co-authored with that me. So that article published in Tech Magazine. So what we're trying to do, but Benedict's idea was that we should not just focus on only instructor. We should focus on learner. It should be learning focused educational systems. If learning at the center of your thinking, your customer, your focus.
So I'll stop you here for a second. Sure. So the first 2 weeks, you'll notice the articles are about learner-centered instruction, quite a few of them. So exactly what Dr. Khan is saying, that the shift in the field is happening. I will also say a couple more things. Dr. Michael Molenda, if you've had R511 with me, he's been a guest in there. He created R511. So you'll have to take 511 at some point, most of you. Mike, and he's still in town, and I could bring him in as well. And he told me how the name IST came about. When someone became department chair, he said he'd only be department chair if they changed the name of the department to Instructional Systems Technology. Nobody else in the faculty wanted that name. Only the chair at the time. So it's not a name that was well embraced or whatever. So, and right now, Learning Science is merging with us. We already have Adult Ed merged with us. So we'll have 3 programs within our department: Adult Ed, Learning Science, and IST. We're going to have to come up with a new name or umbrella for everybody. The name I've come up with is KIND. I want us to be called the KIND department, but I'm sure no one will agree with that. But it doesn't even matter what KIND stands for. I just made something up. But knowledge, instructional technology, networks, and design. So yeah. So anyways, we're going to have a name change at some point for the entire umbrella. I will also say that Ali Carr was the first Indiana person I ever met. So Ali Carr was a grad student with Dr. Khan in the early 90s. And so I got a letter from Indiana University to maybe come interview and for a job in February 1992. And I went off to Paris for a conference. and my parents were taking care of the kids and so forth. And I went to a conference. I presented my dissertation research from 3 years prior, and the first person to my poster was someone critiquing my poster up and down. What's this and what's that, and why do you do this, and why? And her name was Ali Carr. So Ali Carr was critiquing my poster, and she was a graduate student. I was a faculty member, and I got kind of put off. So my first experience with Ali Carr was like, who is she, to critique my poster here? I come all the way from the US to Paris to present this. And I said, where are you from? She said, Indiana University. And I said, well, so I call home and I talk to my father. He says, there's a letter here from Indiana University. You want me to open it? I said, yeah, open it. So they described the new building at IU, having all high tech from AT&T and Ameritech. And my father worked for AT&T his whole life. So he says, you got to go to Indiana University. My grad student walks into my office one day. She says, you got to go to Indiana University. I've just come back from a talk of Dr. Tom Duffy and his grad students about constructivism. And she says, that was so brilliant. The grad students are top people there. You need to move to Indiana University. My father, so I had all this pressure to move to Indiana University at the time. That's the honest truth. After I got back from Paris, I went and interviewed. I went to Richmond, Indiana, stayed in a hotel on the way to Indianapolis for a conference. I got a call from Indiana. Why don't you come down and interview? Anyways, I know all the things that Dr. Khan is talking about. There's an overlap here. So, Badrul, so what was your first, after you graduated, what was the thing? You already mentioned your book got you known, but I mean, how did you know to do that book? Why did you do that book? And how did you get all those people to write chapters for you? Because that's a huge, like 65 chapters, and that's the early days of the web. How do you get masses of people to contribute to something like that?
First of all, sometimes those who are coming from different countries, they feel disadvantaged situation, they're shy. I'm not shy at all. I did my undergrad here. I worked to my college. I would go to older citizens in Indiana. I said, ma'am, your lawn look bigger. Can I mow the lawn? And yeah, I'll give you $5. I'm like that, So I am more Americanized in my thinking and more critic way than Americans themselves. I'm more Hoosiers than many of them knew. So anyway, so I had this big, I'm like internally, I had intrinsic motivation. I can do better than any Americans. Unfortunately, that's what I used to think. You know why? Because I come from different countries. I know another language. I can always compare what is bad here, what is good there, what is bad, good here, what is bad there. So I always compare. And Raigulut always tell us one thing, something called scene of commission, scene of omission. Scene of commission means in your thinking, you added something later and found that did not work. Scene of omission means something you didn't even think about would have been good if you included that. So once you have to, all my friends on the graduate schools, I like this guy here. What do you get a haircut? How much they charge you? You got a haircut? Because I have a friend, he was a professor, a fellow Bangladeshi professor of physics in University of Texas. He took me to the barber shop. So barber shop charged me $8. They charged him $4. So I asked the barber, I said, why are you charging me and for him? He said, he's got half bald, he's got only here in the back. So he get $4. So for your case, when you go to the next haircut, do you get a little discount?
I cut it myself.
Oh, that's even cheaper.
I had to learn how to during the pandemic because my barber wasn't open during that time, and so I practiced a lot.
Well, that's good. In fact, for 2.5 years, I have a television show, so I have to look fit good, but I need a haircut. So my wife, Sima, she has also PhD in instructional design for online learning. She's a manager at Federal Aviation Administration. So Kurt met her. So she's the one who does the hair for me. That's good. I like your hair. Where are you from?
From here in Indiana.
Oh, from Indianapolis?
Just north, West Lafayette.
Oh, you're the Boilermaker.
I'm the Boilermaker. That's right.
There are a lot of Boilermakers in this room.
I tell you what, when we were playing, every time we had with a Boilermaker and Hoosier playing, anybody is driving to West Lafayette with the Hoosier, like a bumper sticker, you'll get a broken window or something. So we had that kind of peace relationship. But welcome,
Badrul, you missed. I didn't cut my hair for the first year of COVID. I had. It was like really long. So again, what got you? How did you get 60 some people to contribute to UNS, or how did you get them all to contribute?
Okay, that is a very interesting question. First of all, if I ever get a Nobel Prize, it would be getting constructivists and instructionalist behaviors together. Daffy was such a rebel on the one side in Indiana. He's talking about constructivism. Here, Raigulut and us, everybody was talking about like relativism or everything. So they had all a fierce fight. So the
department used to fight a lot. And that part of the reason it took me so long to enter, I was in Ed Psych for 13 years because I didn't want to be in the department. IST fought all the time. And so Tom Duffy was one, and then Charlie Raigulut and Mike Melinda would be on the other side. And it was a fist fight.
Even the graduate students, they were like divided. So I come here, a foreigner here, and I'm from chemistry. I'm Indiana chemistry. I said, man, nobody can make peace among themselves. I can. I said, okay. So how I started thinking about doing a book of word-based instruction. I said, when I left my country, actually my mother passed away, I couldn't go back. I said, if I had these tools, the web, which our friend Tim Berners-Lee started, we would have web-based instruction. Then I didn't have to come to this country. I could have stayed home and learned. So that's how I started doing the web-based instruction idea. So at the same time, I say, okay, if I do web-based instruction, I want to make the best-selling book. I had always a big idea. So how you can make the best-selling book? The best-selling book means you have to listen to everybody. You have to listen to diverse. When you write an article, always I think of CNAP commission, CNAP omission. And I also think about all my books, it will be reviewed by professors before it comes to the market. So they write the review. So I always think about themselves too, where they can nail me down bad. So I thought, okay, those days in Indiana, there's a fist fight almost, literally, I would say, among constructivism, among, and behaviorists or cognitivists. And also there is IBM versus PC versus Macintosh group, those days. I said, nobody can make peace among these people. I said, I can. I said, I'm going to write a book on web-based instruction. Larry Lee, the editor, he passed away, he was asking me to write a book on instructional technology. I think later on, at Purdue, Russell and someone else, they did the book. That was asked me. I said, I want to write about something I believe in. What is it? I said, I want to write a book about web-based instruction. The moment I announced that, there is a professor from Sweden, his name is Ralph Miller or something. He was like a very angry. Why I would do a book on web-based instruction? Because he probably liked more like face-to-face. So anyway, so I started sending notes to two groups of people. One is those who believe in traditional instructivists and also who believe in constructivists. So that's how I got Dr. Bonk in there. So he's like a middle like me. I have Tom Reeves, and there are Susan and many other people that some of you, so they wrote. So I get all these people, they got excited. They challenged me because who's this guy, Badrul Khan, because they don't know me, but I know who I am. I didn't care what they are, but I care that you guys are crazy. You guys are talking unnecessary. If you care about learning, if it's well-defined, give them the prescription. If it's ill-defined, let them decide how they can learn, but you provide the guidance. Be the sage on the stage. No, be the guide on the side. So something like this idea together, it worked. So I have chapters written by, I don't know how many, it's in the book, about 56 or 60 articles that are here. And I define web-based instruction as it is an instructional hypermedia-based instructional program where learning is facilitated and fostered. And we also say that by utilizing the active use of the web and internet technologies, so that is very meaningful. The book did very well, 350 universities globally, including Harvard, and then Dartmouth College, and all these big separate book for, the coursework, reference book or textbook. So I did good on that book. So it brought me more courage. Believe me, Kurt, I have more courage. You see, I don't know if you can see. Hold on, I'll show you something. Okay.
Well, he's looking for that. There's a book, there's a writer named Timothy Ferriss who's got a book called The 4-Day Work Week. He talks about being bold, having courage to contact people to write endorsements or interview them and all sorts of things. So when I did my World is Open book, I contacted all sorts of people, including Bill Clinton, who read my book and sent me a letter back. Who's that in there with you?
This is Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he knows what I'm going to talk to you about. He likes my work, my framework. See, this book, I gave it to him, flexible learning book. This is for Professor.
So he's the microfinancing guy, right?
Microfinancing guy. He won the Nobel Prize. Okay.
Right.
So I tell you what, and there is a book on my father right there. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, we see. Yeah.
That's my dad with the beard. And that book forwarded by Professor Yunus. So I come from a very, different group of people where actually honored, my father also knew Tagore, the Rabindranath Tagore. He won the Nobel Prize. He's the Indian author. So I have this courage already, So you need to have, all of you, my friend today, you need to have courage. You have an advantage being an American. You have an advantage being in a democratic society. You have an advantage being ample opportunities to use different resources to thrive. Just don't get lazy, and if you have some ideas and innovation, keep it alive. Just go for it. And I'm not an example, a big one, but I'm thinking that I'm satisfied what I have done. So to go back to Kurt's question, I think this is not something I'm trying to teach you. This is something I'm teaching you in life, how you should behave as a graduate student. As a professor is a different thing. As a graduate student, you will always think about that, well, if I finish all this coursework, I'll get a professor, I'll be a professor, I'll get a job. I mean, there are so many professors, so many PhDs. How many actually make a contribution to the community they serve? Do something, create something so unique. Today, they may not recognize you. But tomorrow, somebody will say that, oh, God said that's true. One time, Janet Hill, she's a professor, she was a professor at University of Georgia.
Yeah, she's also in week 1 readings with Susan Land. So she's in there. Yeah.
So one time, by the way, I was a president of AECT International Division once, So she came to, I was giving a talk, I believe, and she said, Badrul. So she looked at my framework, and she said, I was thinking the same thing. That means my octagonal framework. And I said, wise mind, think alike, So what I'm thinking is that if you have an idea, please express it. Meaning that latent talent is not worth it unless it is expressed. We don't know what you have. Maybe you have something not good, but still I want to know. So there is a medium for you to express what you know. Go to conference, present the paper in conference, try to see what it takes to publish. That's why I asked if it's doctor.
But when you're at the conference, go to other people's sessions, and at the end of their speech, get your picture taken with them, and then send them an email with the picture, and you end up meeting a lot of really well-known people in a sneaky kind of way. But yeah, always get your picture with different folks that you've seen. And you know, I like doing that. And then I introduce, and you can share an article with them and all sorts of things. Now, Badrul, I made you a co-host, so you can show you're going to share that one image with us if you want to share.
But the one I did, the one I cut it, but the original one I'll show you later. But the one that I have it, let me go to a site. Share. I have to go to a site. But you have it. You are there. I will. Maybe I'll not be able to show you that one. No, but let me see. Asian. I'm going to a site. Let's see. No, this might be Asian. And always take picture in the sense that now when people saw that I have a picture of Ghani, people, my recognition got very, and part was there too, were asking me question, and by the way, my framework is.
You're missing an R in framework.
Oh, I see this one. Okay, in the framework, let's do a search called Ghani. God, you not see your picture here, but I have, because I cut it just to, Ghani.
Well, and AECT was held in Nashville, Tennessee in 1994.
Yeah.
And you were just finishing as a graduate student. I was a faculty, and I snuck into the graduate student session.
Here, okay, here, a card is here. This is card. This is your T-shirt.
Yeah, I did. So you cut me out. Okay, all right.
Because not because of the picture. Because no, hey, no man, hey man, I gotta be stuck there, right? So, but next time when we have, because you are far away, there's a lady from China or Korea here,
Yeah.
So this is one that was for Ghani. Those of you have not, you know what Ghani?
We haven't covered Gagne, but you have 511. Anyone had 511 or 521, you've heard of Gagne for sure. And this is 1994 in Nashville. In 1998, I met him at AERA conference, American Education Research. He spoke to 1,000 people audience or something like that. And he was walking, and by 1994, he was in a wheelchair. They had to wheel him in. Yeah, but yeah, famous guy.
Fascinating guy. I asked so many questions. And then, okay, this is Tim Berners-Lee, which we had great time.
In Riyadh.
Do you remember we went out for dinner outside in the camp? That was fun. So anyway, so what you gotta, by the way, those of you are, how lucky you are to have, okay, here I'm gonna show you. Let me tell you how lucky you have Bonk. He's not only a professor and mentor, he's a great friend. But when I was graduating, he was our professor. I didn't take class with him. I just joined the department, but he's such a friendly guy. We went to New Orleans, we danced, drink, and all this big. So he's like a friend, So you can have Dr. Bonk as a friend, mentor, and advisor. So here is a poster. Yeah, can you all see this?
Yeah, sure.
You see here is card.
More importantly, at the bottom there is Ron Oliver next to Badrul. So Badrul and Ron Oliver and Muhammad Ali are on the bottom there. They're very famous. And then Lloyd Reber is next to him. And yeah, so a lot of.
Wells.
Yep, from Wikipedia.
Folks,
yep.
You see, whoever thought about that, Hart and I will be ever make it to this big stand, where world leaders means. He is the founder of web, Tim Berners-Lee. Tim Wells, he's a Wikipedia guy. And we are with them.
We're just little people who hanging out, holding their bags.
But we are little people. It is true, we are little people,
Yeah.
but we make more impact among people than them because they don't talk to many people. But we do. We work, we teach. So, but they're a good guy, and we are good guy too. So this is what. So let me ask me a question. I like that.
So,
Good conversation. I never had it, and people will. There are people who ask questions about how about the Salman Khan and Badrul Khan, same. I said, we are same ethnically. You mentioned Salman Khan in Saudi Arabia. I mean, you said, I don't know if it's related to Badrul. You said that part in Saudi Arabia when you
oh, yeah.
you mentioned
So
that.
do you have your framework to show us?
Yes. So what I'm going to do is basically today, I feel that this conversation is about creating learning environment.
Yeah.
What
This class is about learning environments, right?
Yeah, so it is learning environment. I'm going to show you a framework. Let's see if I can bring this up. What do you see? Do you see some PowerPoint?
Does COVID change the world? Yep.
Okay, let me do this. Okay. If you are in the space, maybe we left the world in 2000 and came back in 2001. All of a sudden you see your mom wearing mask. Your brother is ordering things from online. Your girlfriend wearing mask. What the heck happened? You said, because you were in space when you came back, because of COVID, the whole world has changed. Means, let's see, every place you go, people wear a mask. Since we are so much into this, we don't even realize that we have changed. Even in the military, I was giving a talk in the IFEST last week. So I had to show them, even in the military, people are wearing masks. So what it means? It means the world has changed. Now we have a new normal in education and training. New normal happens once after the World War I. Now, even with 9/11, there was a new normal.
And with Gagne, World War II as well. So
yes,
this field was created in the wake of World War II.
He told me that. He
Yeah.
said that. I said, well, how you get in this field? You're outside. He says to me that, I was in Alabama, Mobile, Alabama, I was training the military. And in 1956, Russians sent the Sputnik, and America wants to do the military training. So that's how Gagne worked on his condition.
Right.
Learning hierarchy, 9 events, So the new normal. So one question could be, what kind of environment, learning environment, you learners want in new normal? That's what we're going to see. So I did several webinars where Professor Chris did from Harvard. I think you connected with Silver Lining with him.
Right. He's my co-podcast partner. Yes.
So we had students from Bangladesh, and we have students from United States from kindergarten, elementary, middle school, high school, and some teachers here and there. So I did several webinars. And I have a television show which is called Khan's Digital World on Fox 5 Plus Washington, D.C. And I interview many different people from different backgrounds about digital world. Because in 2014, I said that we are living in a physical world now, but around us, there's a digital world. So you're the citizen of two worlds. One is physical world, one is digital world. Now I feel good that it's really happened after the COVID. Before COVID, every country I go, they would say, oh, is it going to work and all this? After COVID, they don't ask me this question. They said, how soon can I get this done? You see? So I wanted to know, what do learners really want in the new normal? So in the new normal, what they want, I found that they want something to do with very engaging. Can you see this, what I'm showing?
Yeah.
They want something very interactive. They want some very engaging. And they want it like device independent. Because they can use it, their computer, they can use their cell phone, their radio, whatever ways. It has to be platform, cross-platform, device independent. And they want that they can use it, they can have easily accessible, and people with disability can use it, like a Section 508 is a requirement. So it has to be accessible learning. They want something called single objective focus. You know the learning objectives, you have umbrella. Right? Okay, hold on, let me see. I will show this. You see this? This is an umbrella, right? So umbrella, what is the goal of the umbrella? Goal of the umbrella is to protect you from rain or sunshine or whatever. But each spoke of the umbrella, if you can think of as learning objectives. If you course, you must have a goal. Goal is a bigger thing, but each individual objective has to be performance-based. So I found in my survey of people over the COVID time, they want something single objective focus. Means just teach me one thing. That's what the micro-learning is, micro-learning. See, single objective focus. And I encourage all of you to think that way. Because if you talk too much, too many objectives, they cannot focus. You have to understand this, you know. I had my son, when I was trying to tell him something, he said, don't talk, text me. Because he's busy. He doesn't want to, people don't have this attention or patience anymore. So that's what we gotta address this. You want to have a single objective focus, you teach them and you call it micro-learning. And the next one you have, let me see what you have there. Okay. Yes. I just want to get rid of this thing away and see. Okay, so they want something short duration. So this is what they want. Short duration means something they can learn when they're on the train, or when they're on the bus, when they have a break, they can learn something. Short duration. Retention boosting and just in time. That means, you know, if you have information overload, then you lose them. Too many things is going to be distracting. But if you have to the point, it improves their motivation, their attention. So retention boosting will happen if you can capture them. Independent part of the whole, even single objective focused learning unit create, it is a part of the whole thing, whole course, but independently they are done. Look and feel are the same. You know, those days we had Macintosh came over from Apple. It has look and feel was so easy, you know, and before we had PC, all this, but Macintosh has this advantage over PC those days. Is look, I know what is a hypercard or what do we use, you know, file is always there, you know, open or save as. So look and feel. So independent of part of the whole means that learning environment that you're going to create, either a small unit of learning, but it's part of the whole course. However, look and feel, navigation would be very similar. So it would be easy to follow. Don't give any surprise. All of a sudden, you have unit 1, you have this, unit 2, you have something else. So it's like a jumping from here to there. That's not good. Cost effective. They want something very cost effective. So what really then happened? You're just in time, you got a part of the whole, you got the cost effective. So all this together, this is what learners, even in the corporate world or in the government agencies or the universities, elementary, they want this. So these are the characteristics of new normal learning. You all follow me?
We've got 4 questions from the audience for you. So let's.
I can either take it now because, well, let me bring up the framework,
Okay, bring up the framework and then let's go to questions.
And then we'll make it open.
Okay.
So you mean, say e-learning. Okay, e-learning works, but actually whatever works, if you're teaching something or making a training program, if you have a picture, a physical something, if you can blend them appropriately and most meaningfully, that is what is going to happen in the new normal. There's no other way. You have to blend. Whether you blend physical versus online, also you're going to blend within different things in the digital format. And there are metaverse coming and all different things are coming, but you need to learn how to blend. But blending, remember, what is the goal of the course? Goal is like a purpose. And then find out individual learning objectives. Some could be high cognitive, some could be low cognitive, but you have to list them all. If you miss one, it's going to be crooked. I lived in Chicago, I worked there, and the wind is so windy, you have an umbrella. If you don't hold it strong, you're going to break, you will get wet. Same way, if you design a course, if it's not well intended, well thought out with good objectives, if you miss one objective, that means it's broken. So you need to do a good task analysis, good needs analysis to identify what are the learning objectives you need. All objectives together and whether they can achieve the goal. So let's see. All right. In the new normal, I feel that if these are the characteristics the learners want, then they will ask the question, well, we know those are the characteristics, but how do we design? So for designing, I tell my wife, let me get some lipstick, because like girls, ladies that use lipstick. So I have a very dry lips, so I use chapstick. So you guys are not funny or what? You're like a coxcomb, like a conservative. What's going on? It's a school, and this is the.
I love your props. It's fascinating. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm laughing too.
Yeah, but I tell you what, in Bangladesh, when we're in the school and we have 2 captains, first captain, second captain, they are the leader in the class. They sit on the side. When the teacher comes in, teacher comes like a coxcomb, he comes like this, So first captain will say, stand up. So all the students will stand up. And the teacher will look at it and like this, and then he said, you can sit. The second captain will say, sit down, then we'll sit. It's like a military academy. Man, chill. I mean, chill. What did they say? Just have fun. It's very informal. I'm not giving a keynote in a big conference. I'm in my friend's class. You are my friend. So if you don't understand my accent, you have to understand, because this is how the world is global become. I speak better English than many of the people in different countries, for example. So you have to, your professor will be from different countries. How are you going to handle it? But this is how it is. So I hope you. So just relax. All right. Now that I have given you that what the people want, these are the characteristics of learning. How do you design them? For that particular reason, I have my e-learning. You can see many of my books are based on my framework. Many books here. And my book has been translated into 23 languages. So recent one in Vietnam, Portuguese is coming. I'm going to Portugal in October to Nancy. Spanish one just came. Turkish one is working. And then I'm also working in Uzbekistan, Uzbek language. Russian one just came during the war. I supposed to go to Moscow, couldn't go. Russian was already published. So you see, these 8 categories are the guidelines. So what added in my work after the COVID, before I did not reach out to learners. I didn't ask them, what do you want? So that's why in my framework, you see on my data, this book, I don't know if you can see it. In this book, this is award-winning book from Routledge. This book, framework, but doesn't have learning characteristics. You see, it doesn't have the 8 categories of learning, device independent, interactive. So my knowledge, so when I go back to these people, to the survey, K through 12, kindergarten kids, what I hear from them, this is how they want. Okay, so this is how the world is. You know what was, because I supposed to start I have a car like a Lexus, and it has to be, has to be turned on because, unless I do it, so it's with the dealer now, but that's the remote was my alarm. So in your life, you're going to be so busy with all the distraction. The alarm will sound, you have to excuse yourself. Don't feel sorry about that. When I was giving a keynote, I supposed to show something, I showed something else. I'm so sorry, man. I said, I'm sorry, forgive me. I showed the wrong thing. I'm going to bring the right thing. So this is what is a reality. That's why what the requirement, they want single objective focus. They want, it should be working in any devices. They want cheap. They want something they can learn, not get bored, but remember it. So to create that, the best way, I believe, would be to focus on the guidelines. The guidelines is how I created these guidelines when I was in the University of Texas in 94, 95, web-based instruction came in 96. I was thinking, if I ever have to make a web-based instruction, how do I make this? In 95, nobody was using, any kind of learning. I had a friend, Mary Goldberg from Canada. He's the one who created the WebCT after the Blackboard long time later. So nobody knew. So in the University of Texas, I had the first course on with the WebCT.
So you knew Maury Goldberg from WebCT, huh?
Yeah.
So some history here. So Blackboard, which many people know about, and WebCT emerged at the same time, along with OnCourse at Indiana University, which became Sakai later on. And Indiana was a big player in the learning management systems, but so was British Columbia with the WebCT, and so was Blackboard. These are all competing, and so was Simon Fraser with, I think they had Real Education, all these different systems. WebCT was the most creative. They were the first one, but they got bought out by Blackboard, and Blackboard put them under.
Yeah, Blackboard, the guy who was his name, I've forgotten, he went to Harvard.
Right.
And he went to Columbia for PhD. So I was giving a talk. So Blackboard took all my 8 dimensions to make it more compatible. But Maury Goldberg came out with it, 94, 93. So I was giving a keynote in San Francisco, American Optometric Education, and Goldberg was a speaker. So he was asking me questions. I told him, I said, man, you got to think about pedagogy. You guys, he's a computer science guy,
Right.
Don't know much about the pedagogy.
I talked to him about that too. Yeah.
So he bought into this. So you see what we need to do. So I was thinking, if I had ever, after the book did so well, web-based instruction, 350 universities globally using the book, and the publishers did the highest used book in his 300 books that he published. But I could not sleep because people are sending me, show me an example of web-based instruction. Show me an example.
Exactly.
I said, where am I going to get the example? I didn't have an example. Nobody was using web. Not even maybe one or two corporations have websites on in 94. Nobody's using it. Then I thought, okay, what am I going to do? So I started thinking about, all right, if I send one of my students from University of Texas, Brownsville to Amazon forest, then my question is, how am I designing? How will I able to even design a course for him? So I've been thinking, he's going to ask a question. Hey, where is the library? He's going to ask me a question. Where's my teacher? He's going to ask me a question about how I'm going to use this computer. Where is the technical guy? So what I did, I have thought about all the myriad of questions that people can ask. And I've been giving keynote addresses in different places, different countries, you know, even A and all this. So people are asking questions. So what I did, I said, okay, I put the learner at the center. Here's the learner, and I keep asking questions. Any question to do with learning and teaching, I see it's pedagogical. I cluster them. Anyone is asking about how about the infrastructure, how about the hardware, how about the software? That is technological. Interface design, you know, like interface design is a big thing because in the interface design, what they see on the screen, that's how they react, they navigate. For example, thumbs up. When I was playing a cricket, you know, I was a good athlete in Bangladesh, playing cricket, so someone will bolt me out, means I'm out. So they used to disregard me, the other fellow peers like this, you know. So that means make you mad. So suppose you are in the United States and I'm in Bangladesh and Kurt is teaching a class and he asked me a question, who is the president of the United States? I say, Biden. And he gives me thumbs up. And I say, man, this person is making me mad. I get the answer right, he's challenging me. You see, because thumbs up, now American culture is all over, but those days, so thumbs up in this country is way to go, in other country may be challenging, you see? So I was thinking about, wow, if this guy I'm creating a course in Amazon forest for this student, he could be from different countries. So I have to think about how I design, sign and symbol I use, interface design. Then comes the evaluation. In the evaluation, you see what happens in the classroom. I'm teaching, I bring a notebook, I give a test, and I evaluate. And the students at the end of the semester evaluate the professors. But I think evaluation would be such that we should assess the learners and then evaluate who did the graphics for the course, who did the instructional design, who is teaching. In most cases, you'll see, or many cases, you see someone have designed the course but taught by someone else. You see? So you need to capture a complete evaluation. So evaluation that includes learning, assessment of learners and evaluation of everybody involved, from designers to the subject matter expert who were teaching it, etc. Then come management. What the management would be? If you come in the classroom, you bring your notebook, there is a chalkboard or whatever, your book and notebook, you show them, but online, wow, you have so many different links, different places. How do you manage them? You may have a Badrul Khan's website, which is badrulkhan.com. If I'm not still on earth, if someone doesn't keep it, so it will find the dead links. So if I'm gone, Bonk is still here on earth, he probably will link me if he doesn't know me that I'm gone. So he is still click on badrulkhan.com. He said that cannot find. So that's why it's a dead links. Do you follow what I'm saying? So that in the management part of our teaching, you just don't come with the notebook and start teaching. But in an online learning environment, you get all the resources. And if the resources, if they're live or they're connected, or they disappear, it's your responsibility. Next is the resource support. I was thinking, well, how about resource support means technical support, counseling support. The students, when I was at GW, George Washington University, I went to Aramco Oil Company in Saudi Arabia. I was giving a keynote there, and there someone in the business office there, I was responding to students different questions in Prometheus, John was doing Prometheus, and which is a learning management system. So that means if some of them have problems, so they will go to technical support to connect me and learn from me. But if they don't have budget for technical support, then students will have problem. You need counseling support. I have students, their relative passed away, they could not submit their homework on time. So they need some help. I said, okay, you have granted extra week, but their mental condition is not very good those days. So the counselor could help. So that is the resource support. Ethical consideration. What does ethical you need? Ethical consideration, geographical diversity. If even in the United States, you have 6 time zones. If you are 8 o'clock morning at Washington, DC, one of your students in Hawaii, she or he has to wake up 4 in the morning maybe to synchronously chat with you if the course requires that. So that's called geographical diversity. Learner diversity, these are ethical consideration. Then plagiarism, legal issues, copyright issues. So one has to think about that. Institutional dimensions, the last dimension there, is deals with academic affairs, student services, administrative services, whether this online learning is legal or it is accredited, something like so. What I was thinking, I sent one of my students to Amazon Forest and keep thinking that what would he require? And that's how I came out with this framework.
And that framework's been with you for 3 decades, almost 3 decades now.
Yeah.
And it's something that carries, it's his a trademark. It could be his business card, in effect, his calling card. We would call that the calling card for Badrul Khan. He's been able to take that and use it in many different venues, many different educational sectors across different age groups. So this becomes so frameworks like my R2D2 framework or model, my tech variety model are things that can carry with you, even though the technology changes. The technology changes, the programs might change, the emphasis, the topics, but the frameworks are still viable. The frameworks are still usable. So this course should help you, I think by the end, have some frameworks when you're going to do strategic planning for some entity, some government sector that might work for military sector, some educational sector. You'll be able to use these frameworks to make a contribution to the committee you're on, to the strategic planning group that you might be on, to the thought papers you write. Those things will carry with you. IST or anyone in the ed tech field realizes that the papers that are written today, most of them will be out of date next year or the year after, at least, or in 2 years. But some papers, like the ones in week 1 and week 2, are instructional design models. Those things last a lot longer and carry with us. And Badrul was lucky, Dr. Khan was lucky to come up with a framework early in his career. So he did a couple things by tapping into a topic of interest for the world of online or web-based instruction. Before most people, maybe before anyone had done it, it got him a platform to talk and experiment with his ideas, to share his ideas worldwide. So he did he talked about 3 things really. Be bold, right? Be bold in your approach. Don't, try something out. He said, try it out. It might not work. He said it might be, but you got to try it out, with maybe in a small group at a conference, maybe even a small special interest group, or share it in an after meeting at the end of the day at the conference. And then he said, you have to have some kind of communication system, like of his framework, to talk to others about, to share your ideas and your representation, and to create a new way of speaking about things. Like IST, we need, LST might be a new way of speaking, a new approach, a new model, new method. We've got 4 questions for you, Badrul, and I want to start with the first. Whoever would like to ask and jump in on first. I know Christian probably has 3 questions. Christian, I'm gonna ask you not to go first because I know you're gonna want to go first. So someone other than Christian.
I do have 3 of the questions.
I know you would. Who else has something here? Yeah, go ahead, Bo. You're muted. Yeah.
There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we threw a couple questions for you into a Jamboard here, but mine was.
So, Badrul, you want to take the sharing off here for a second so I can share the. You hit the stop sharing at the bottom of the screen, maybe. Yeah, go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, so my question was just like thinking about the different ways that individuals learn. Do you see a future in which personalized learning environments are as accessible and hold as much emphasis as like personal learning plans for students?
Badrul, you got the question?
No, actually, I was trying to stop it, and this is how the real life is. I'm not. If I make a mistake, I made a mistake. I didn't listen to you, please. So now, Bo, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I stop sharing right here, man. I tell you what, it says stop sharing, and I'm teaching you guys, and I flop. Yes, this is the real.
Right. Hey, there we go. Let's see here. So my question was, do you see a future in which personalized learning environments are as accessible and hold as much emphasis as personalized learning plans for students or individual learners?
What would happen is that, students or employees, they're going to learn the way they want to learn. They want flexibility. I have a book called Flexible Learning. So if like at the university, they have like your program of study, like this 531 on all these courses, that is your curriculum. The IGLU says one thing, curriculum means what to teach, instruction means how to teach. What to teach, those are the curriculum designer. How to teach, we are the instructional designer. So we believe personalized learning, to make his learning individualized, it is going to be always the case. Now, maybe many of the instructional designers, they probably would try to, if they don't understand the diversity, they probably would create something that some people cannot personalize. Like, for example, I was talking about thumbs up. If you think about at GW, George Washington University, I gave my students homework. I said, sign and symbol cross-cultural communication. Study it. Like in China, you see the red color is a very vibrant color, right? And in America, we use the red color for danger, right? Yep. So personalized education, study who is the person. If you're going to think through who is the person, think like me. When I did, if I want to create a web-based instruction course, I wanted to send my student to Amazon forest so that it's not close to a civilization. And then it was challenging for me to create a learning environment for him. So that's why I get all this thing. So yes, to answer your questions, it has to be very personalized. How well you can personalize it based on the needs assessment, needs analysis of the learners. Good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a follow-up, Bo?
No, I'll pass it off to somebody else here.
Okay, who wants to jump in second? And that can include Christian now.
That's what I should have said. I think Christian does have a couple questions though. So,
Christian, where are you from, Christian?
I always have questions.
Where are you from?
Indianapolis.
Oh, you are Hoosier 2.
Yeah.
Hoosier 1, Hoosier 2. Okay.
Christian's my advisee. So he started as a master's and got accepted into the EDD program. And good. He's making good progress. He was my TA in one of my classes last year. So Christian's making good progress. Christian, go ahead.
Go ahead, Christian.
So I'll go with the lighter one first. Why did you choose an octagon for your framework?
That's a very good question. Actually, for AECT, Association of Education Communication Technology. In the conference, I presented, it had 7 sites in 1994, 96 and 7 sites. So then in the room, Tom Reeves and his friends from Syracuse, there were one was teaching in Florida State, and another Florida State Indiana guy. They were all evaluation guys. They convinced me, Badrul, you put the evaluation within the pedagogy. They want it out because they are the evaluation people. Tom, you're here, he's on my Facebook. So they are the people who really, convinced me evaluation should be out of the framework. So it has 7 sites. So after that meeting, I thought about it and I make it 8 dimensions. One interesting thing after that, I went to Vatican. I was giving a talk in University of Rome, Italy. So I went to Vatican. Oh my gosh, I can see their octagon. I went to Ephesus in Turkey. In the old prehistoric, I see octagon sign. I went to Taj Mahal, they have octagon. I went to Medina, which is Saudi Arabia, I see octagon. And there is a guy, he's a professor from India. He wrote an article of astronomy, means the yoga. Yoga, the exercise, has 8 branches of it. So he wrote an article on it and very least he sent that to me in the EdTech publication. Then I go to my wife, I say, why is 8? Everybody, I see 8. So in our belief, our faith, we believe that the heaven has 8 doors, So it meshed and that's what it was actually 7-sided. So it becomes 8-sided, But each side makes sense. One guy asked me, how you gonna be, if someone has a psychological problem, I said, if it deals with ethical, then it's ethical consideration. So many people put me in a different kind of situation and questions, and I would be able to fit into this ACE category. If evaluation was not separated and stand out, it would be kind of difficult.
Christian, before you ask your second question, I just want to ask Dr. Khan, if Nashville was in 94, what year was ACT in Indianapolis? Was it 92 or 93?
You're asking me?
Yeah. Do you remember?
Actually, I did not go to Indianapolis.
That's where we met. We met in Indianapolis at ACT in 92 or 90. I can't remember. I think it was 93. Anyways, it came back there in 2016 or 16, I think. So
maybe PIDT also, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So Christian, your follow-up question.
So I'm going to go with the other one that's also not super philosophical. Feel free to answer the philosophical one if you want to. But so you're an extremely creative person. You've got all sorts of writing behind you that you've done and constantly working on frameworks and graphics and all sorts of things. What tools do you have around you, whether physical or digital, to kind of make sure that you're able to capture your creativity when you feel it come, when you have that idea, like how do you capture it?
Very good question. Coming from chemistry and I had no computer background or something like this. So what I found, even in instructional technology program, they don't have enough programming for us to learn. But Dr. Ted Frick is a great professor. He is the one who introduced us so many different technology, So what I did, my strength is this. I knew all the software, like those days called Authorware, Toolbook. Now you have like before LMS, we have Storyline, we have Photoshop, we have Canvas, and then also we have Lectora. These are the authoring software. Storyline, Lectora, Captivate, for example. So I cannot know all these, but I learn. Sometimes I'm the greatest preloader in the world. I go to the YouTube and learn quickly, and I'm the greatest preloader for evaluation copy, I learn. So for example, I found my Photoshop doesn't work. I don't have license. So my wife told me, go to Pixlr Pixlr, Pixlr. I use the Pixlr, and I have one frame. I put things in there because every book I have, like I have another award-winning book was like on MOOCs. So I put the MOOCs inside, So I do this. So this is for the graduate students. It's a latent talent is not worth it unless expressed. So only way to express, you go to conferences, you write, but at the same time, you have to start creating your own materials. That is an added advantage, So I think it's a very good question. All my graduate student friend, you guys are my friend, So you try to see if you can know the tool. Without tool, you cannot express in digital world.
So does anyone else have a question here tonight that they would like to ask? Sunmei normally does.
Why men are dominating?
Sunmei, go ahead, Sunmei.
My question may be not related to your topic, but actually I'm really interested in writing your books a lot. So I'm so interested in it. So how do you come up with ideas? So do you have any special ways or some, just got an idea and then how to, develop the, for a book? That's because I have some ideas, but it's really hard to write a book, right?
Yeah, but idea has to be genuine. For example, when I come to this country in 1991, so my mother passed away in 1984. I couldn't go back. And so what I said, why I have to come here? So I always look for an opportunity of thinking that why couldn't we make learning accessible, usable globally? And tool was missing. And here comes Tim Berners-Lee's contribution to, I think he should get Nobel Prize. He revolutionized the world with the tool of the web. And it allows a democratic way. So I told, when I gave him my web-based instruction book in Saudi Arabia, and we were living, I think Card was in a different hotel, but we stay in all the kings or guest men. I was so lucky. Dr. Kamak, the host, put me next to his room, So in the same room, so I didn't have to take the text.
Oh, the truth comes out now.
Yes.
You got put up in a special room. Oh,
very special. That's all the kings or guests was there. So they gave me the special, I'm blessed. I didn't bribe, but he was in the same hotel. So, and it was interesting that I gave him the book. I said, because of you, I became one in the world. He said, how? Why? I said, you are the one who created the web. And I was able to coin the phrase web-based instruction. See? So you need connection. You have to be lucky. Sometimes you have to be lucky. You have to be blessed. You only can be blessed if you enough blessing you have to be in contact with those people. Dr. Card Bonk, I would not be blessed if I finished my undergraduate in chemistry and maybe just became a chemist. I would not even see him. So there are some contexts, there are some opportunities. It come to you. Some you can catch it and use it. Some you don't catch it, you don't get it. You think, my wife also a PhD, she's not catching like I am, but she's the great singer. She has millions of, she's a singer. That's all she cares. But she captured that because that's an opportunity. You see?
And dancer.
And
an award-winning dancer, I think, back in Bangladesh, right?
So she's a very good singer also. So what happens? So you see, Sumi, you're from Seoul?
No, from
China?
Stanford. So actually from, South Korea.
She's from Seoul originally, right?
Yeah. I've been to, Korea University. When I was in a room where the president of Korea was there, I was sort of checking because I was giving for HRD conference there, but it was great. So what I'm saying, opportunities only can come to you if you do the good work. So when we had the opportunity to meet Sir Tim Berners-Lee, and I gave him the book, and he was with me all the time. I wanted to take him to Bangladesh. He said he was asking me questions about the Nobel laureate and how I know him and all this. It's a good conversation. So I'm sure if I go to MIT someday, I stop by, maybe he will have a coffee with me. So that connections also. You see, maybe you should ask a question, how did Larry Lipsis, he passed away, like I said, Education Technology Magazine founder, editor, how I know him? Well, I was at the AECT. We have an international division, AECT. So I was the president of that one. I have a good friend, Harvard University Dean, Dr. Bob Doyle. He was with that. He's the one who made me the president for the AECT, with the board, obviously, AECT division. So Larry Lipsis was sitting in the same table as I was in the international auction in a dinner. So I talked to him. So he said that if I want to write a book on, he knew that I was a student of Raigalut. Indiana is a well-known university. They know for IST. So he was talking with me. So he asked me, said, if I want to write a book on instruction technology, I said, no, but I got an idea. He said, what is it? I said, it's for web-based instruction. So he was like, what is that? I said, it's web-based instruction. Then I did some table of contents and jot down ideas, and I sent it to him. He said, oh, go for it. Then I started to reach out people. That's one of the teachers, Bonk. I think he came from, you are in Wisconsin. He did his PhD in Wisconsin, medicine, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he came to Indiana. He also participated in my book. So what happens that you must have ideas. You need to have some kind of click that someone is going to help you. So I gave it to Larry Lipsis, and he bought the idea. But there were a lot of, when I call out for papers, there are people all over the world. They're excited. They didn't know what web-based instruction means. This is 1995 I'm talking about. You see, book came in 96. So people were not sure. So some of them are like, those who don't like web-based, they didn't know enough. They were very against it. So I went through that time when people were not accepting this idea, but I was happy. You know why? If they appreciate, if they like your idea, then your idea is not very good. But if they don't like your idea, but you are who you are, you know that your idea is good, then they probably will, you will be successful. Those who are here today is that thinking that, but look, I'm going to do my master's and PhD. You're just going to be just a PhD teaching one of the universities, but you want to stand out to begin with. Then you have to fight. You have to fight. You have to have courage. People do not like you. I'm sure some of my students here don't like me because I'm talking about myself. That's how one has to learn, because this is a very informal class. That's why I'm talking. But in a keynote, I would not talk like this. I will be more formal, I guess. But you need to have your passion. If you go to badrulkhan.com, it says, when passion becomes profession, life is no longer boring. E-learning is my passion and profession. Go to badrulkhan.com. First thing you see, that's my statement. So my passion, my profession is the same, and I feel good about it. I always think about in my garden, Khan's garden, I have, today I had some very tasty fig, I have figs, in the garden, apple. I have like plum, and I have, what else we have? I have apple, plum, and the pears, grapes, and the vegetables I have. So when I go there, and I feel that, I keep thinking about how I can improve myself, even speaking, even writing, But a lot of people are so much selfish that they want to have a job. But I have friends who become dean, become president, but I get more satisfaction of my work than they do, because they become president next, nobody knows them. But Ghani, you know them. Raigulu, you know them. Someday probably Badrul Khan, you know Card.
So he's saying be true to yourself. And he's also saying there are networks that help you build momentum to get you to do a book. And those networks start small. They start as a treasurer of a special interest group. They start as a paper reviewer for a journal. You get to know the editors of the journal that way. They start as a book chapter contributor before you write a book. You write a chapter for someone else's book. And those networks build and grow over time, but also your ideas then, they build, and you have the initial idea, and then if you know an editor, you can run it by them, and you have to meet with people, and over a series of meetings, editors want to hear your ideas. You can have any crazy idea at a conference, you can track them down. They'll want to hear book ideas. They want to get, everyone under contract who has a good idea. They want to get them before someone else does. So you arrange lunches and afternoon meetings at a conference like AERA, and you write to the editor. You find out from your advisor who's a good editor from Rutledge, or who's a good editor from Sage or from Wiley, and then you write to them, say, I'll be at the AERA conference. Would you like to have lunch with me? So I put 4 book chapters I have in Badrul's books. The last one is a hot link is there that's scratching the 7-year itch. It's time to move on was my last one, the forward to one of his books. But the first one that I wrote for Badrul was for his 96, 97 book. I wrote on learner-centered web instruction for Harvard, or thinking, teamwork, and apprenticeship. I wrote 10 activities for creative thinking, 10 for critical thinking, and 10 for cooperative learning. Before I taught my first online course, I had just done Blended. And I used the ideas from that chapter to create my first course in 1998 called we created the Smart Web. Charles Graham and I had a handbook of blended learning we later built, but then we had that chapter. I had that chapter. We built a website instead of an LMS. We built our own LMS. We built the tools within it. We called it the Smart Web, and I used the ideas from the chapter in Badrul's book to design my course for critical and creative thinking. It's based on my Saturday class, which some of you have had with me. We've asked a lot of questions. We've gone over time. We need to end now. Unfortunately, Badrul, does anyone have a final comment that they would like to make to get it recorded here? Would anyone like to say something, or a thank you for Badrul, or a quick question? Does anyone have something they're dying to ask? If not, I'm going to just point out one thing. This gentleman here is Dr. Tom Fraley, who passed away, and this is in our paper in Bloomington yesterday. He was in our counseling department when I started. And in 1994, he walked by my classroom as a year after Badrul left, and John Savory and Feng-Kuei Wang and many other people were in the room with me. I was teaching a class, team taught through video conferencing from Bloomington to IUPUI. And I layered over the top See You, See Me, bringing in Elliot Soloway from Michigan, a big mobile guy, and another guy named David Palumbo. We read their articles on programming impacting thinking, and we combined 2 video conferencing systems together. And it was one of the first times and only times I've had a faculty member walk by my classroom and decide to sit in the class to see what was happening. Sometimes there are peak moments that you remember forever. And it could be with Dr. Khan, it could be meeting Larry Lipsick, sitting at the table and at the international session, the auction. And that was a peak moment for him. It changed his life. If it had been at another table, his life would have changed in some ways. I was on the board for EdTech magazine with Larry Lipsick before he passed away. So I know him very well myself. I got his entire library. I don't know if you know this, all the EdTech magazines for 60 years were sent to my office from his brother when he passed away. So I know him very well too. It's certain moments are key moments in your life. You have to keep track of them. I'm really thankful for Dr. Fraley for sitting in my class. I feel sorry he passed away. He had retired long ago, but your collegial support that you have like that, a colleague that can come in and just, hey, I'll visit your class and let you know how it's going. All these things add up over time to get you opportunities to running a symposium at a conference is a great opportunity to meet people. Running a panel at a conference is a great opportunity to meet people. AECT, you can run panels or be a discussant or be a chair, just be a chair. All these little things build up over time and also get you the connections. It could just be a minor role, but you could meet a Robert Gagne as being a chair of a session. And then 30 years from now, you can talk about how you met Robert Gagne or how you met Badrul Khan or how you met Tim Berners or whomever it is. You never know. You just don't know. But you do them you within reason. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, but you volunteer for things within reason. And in this field is not that big. You can meet a lot of the big people within a couple of years. You can meet David Merrill. We've had David Merrill as a guest in this class a couple of times. He's the biggest name in instructional design in the country besides Charlie Regaluth, who was already mentioned. So
that was his mentor.
Charlie Regaluth's mentor, in fact.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and Charlie mentored you. So you're the grandson of David Merrill.
That's why I said when I was giving a talk in Utah State University.
Where David Merrill was.
So
right.
I said, Grandpa. He said, why you Grandpa? I said, because your Regaluth is your mentor. I'm his mentor. His mentoree. So he said, okay. So he gave me the first go ahead for my e-learning the framework. He was taking the notes. So you see, this is the very good thing. Should be a course like this, telling graduate students how to be, just not to be like a book into books, rather understanding how the world works, connections.
Right. And we do not have articles, by the way, from David Merrill. If you take my 511 class, which I'm teaching in the spring, I think, that has articles from David Merrill. I apologize, we don't have any in here, but I have a couple in the other in 511 class. But you can add, if you want to read from David Merrill, you want to read other. So week 13, we're going to read from Dr. Khan. I think it's week 13 or week 12. I'm sorry, it's week 11. We're going to read from him in this framework. We're going to come back to on week 11, along with Tony Bates, who we mentioned, Megan mentioned earlier, and other people. So I want to thank Badrul Khan for coming in on short notice. This is very short notice, and we're really lucky to have him because the syllabus was just created, and he said, I want to come first week. I said, week 11, I want to come first week into your class. I want to be there with your students and meet them, and I'm an Indiana grad, I'm a Hoosier, I want to meet them. Plus, he's going to be out of country in a couple of months, so he's taken time out to be with us tonight. So give him a big round. Put 3 words in the chat window for Dr. Khan, or 3 or 4 words for him before you go, and thank him for participating. A few people had to go along the way because we've gone over tonight. But at this point, I'm going to stop the recording here in a second and say,
let me ask you one thing.
Before I stop the recording. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, because I'm going to share this video to the learners globally.
Yeah.
So I hope I have your permission to show your faces there, and you have no objections. Is that okay?
Make me look prettier, okay?
Yeah, you look pretty already. You look so young. I see you the same way. 1900.
Magic pills. Okay, this recording, week 1, August, 22nd, 2022, 22. This is ending officially right